Okay. First thing, did you know that eduroam in Croatia have potentially 920,000 potential users, 150 internet service providers, which provide users internet access via wired or wireless connectivity. We covered 1,200 covered areas and have more than 85 million successful authentication per month. Also, eduroam in Croatia was one of the first area covered by eduroam. We start 2003, and Croatia was one of the first 5 countries that have eduroam possibility to connect and authenticate. All the information you may find on our website, www.eduroam.hr. What is the eduroam? Basically, simple and easy and very secure connectivity to Wi-Fi or wired network. Also based on the most secure encryption and authentication standards available today. Mostly excite security available on public and commercial hotspots. We use 802.1x system of protocols, which provides end-to-end encryption. That means that all communication between user and their institution, which provide electronical identity, are encrypted. What was also important is the fact that users don't have any TCP/IP connectivity before they authenticate to the network, which is very important because you are not able to exploit, for example, DNS, websites, and so on to get access without proper authentication. Here is the picture, one of the first how to eduroam work. What is important in this picture is basically the fact that authentication between the clients, users, and the home organization all the way is encrypted. Also, it's very private because service provider doesn't know who really you are. They know that you are a user on the network. They are able to disable you access to the network, but they don't know who really you are. And also, on this picture, one of possibilities to use 802.1q standard. Basically, service provider are able to put you in the virtual LAN and give you some quality of service which are not same for every user. And also, what is shown here is basically all the authentication is done by radius infrastructure. When we talk about user, service provider knows who the user is, but they don't have any. They don't know who you really are. They are able to, like I said, disable your access because they have something called chargeable user identity. Basically, it's a long hash created on your local institution, which provide you user identity. And that hash is changed from service provider to service provider. So, so no one is able to track you across the service provider. What is important, basically, eduroam is GDPR compliant even before GDPR was implement and show to the public. One important thing is that user may have one or many devices, but all those devices represent that users. So if you share your username, basically all the devices which use your username for authentication represent you. So if you share between your friends, basically all your friends is pop up like you. And anything what's happened on that network, basically it's look like that you did it. One more important thing is fact that eduroam establish trust between service provider and IDPs. So all the service providers trust that a local institution which provide information about user really do authentication, check the username and password, and the user really is connected with that institution. Internet of Things. What is the Internet of Things? It is relatively many definitions on the internet. I put 2 links on which I found usual to discover what Internet of Things is. For today purposes, Internet of Things will be devices connected and exchange data with other devices and the system over Internet. eduroam and Internet of Things. Yes, please welcome. You are able to connect Internet of Things. We don't have any rules against connecting Internet of Things using the eduroam. It's just like another devices, mobile phone or whatsoever. However, we expect that these devices will be authenticated using 8.2.1x protocols. They need to have adequate software possibilities or firmware stacks. So expecting EAP, EAPOL, VPA2, VPA3 communication possibility for Wi-Fi, and possibility to manage user identity. So all Internet of Things needs to authenticate like some user. We wouldn't like to see that all Internet of Things devices have same username and same password or same certificate or whatsoever. So we would like to know which device use it, the network. A service provider would like to know, mostly. When we talk about Internet of Things devices, devices which are connected to the Wi-Fi and wired, many times people ask, is it possible to connect via wired? Yes, it's possible because switches have possibility to do authentication using 8.2.1x on the ports. Also, when we talk about our devices, I know that you are not able to, I don't know, put the authentication to the eduroam for some devices which are, I don't know, LAMP or some other things which are for all purposes, so you are not able even to use the extended Wi-Fi authentication. They expect that you have open SSID to connect and use it. Or they have their own access point possibility on the same devices. One another things which are connected with Internet of Things and eduroam basically is the service provider. That is much important things to discuss. First, after all user authenticate with eduroam just authenticated. The rules how to use the internet basically depends on the service provider. Service provider will be decide how to use it. Is it appropriate to use large bandwidth, or they will put you on some virtual LAN on which you have, I don't know, less speed, less possibility to disrupt some other users on the wired or Wi-Fi network. Also, how to update Internet of Things. In most cases, today we are very happy to implement something, and that's run from some period of time. But how many of those devices are update software, update firmware, and what the rules will be on that service provider. Also, service provider would like to know how many Internet of Things devices they have on the network. So some monitoring and statistics will be also very helpful. How to manage incidents if something happened with Internet of Things devices. I don't know, start to download large files, for example, or create a large traffic which are not suitable for this type of network and disrupt all other users on the network. And finally, who is the user and owner of these devices connected? On another side, basically we have identity providers, the institution which will provide identity for that type of devices. In our AI system in Croatia, we have the rule that every user needs to have basically the OIB number inside of the records. But Internet of Things doesn't have that number. So how to manage that? On the other hand, Internet of Things may have a number which are random and may be used because it is possible to have hardware chips which have possibility to have enough long numbers. So maybe we may put that number in our OIB attributes. Also, we don't like that Internet of Things use the identity of a real user. For example, you create some Internet of Things devices and put your real username and password inside of it. That wouldn't be nice, because count on that this device is basically in the wild. You put it somewhere and you don't have control on it. So someone may get this device, deassemble it, and try to get the information about authentication. So using user credentials is not a good thing. Also, on the other hand, user which was provided by institution need to be connected to that organization. So if we put the authentication parameters in the Internet of Things, does the Internet of Things device is connected to organization, for example, to CERC? Maybe yes, maybe not. Also, we have the password policy, which said that every number of days you need to change the password. So if you have the Internet of Things devices, that means that you must connect it to on those devices or get to that devices, put it down, recreate the software or something else to change the password every X days. Also is the question, did that user identity have the same rights like a real user, or just to authenticate on the eduroam network. So how to solve all this? Basically, Internet of Things are not present at that moment on the eduroam network in normal circumstances. We have some requests for the schools, and that was the first thing that we have some question how to connect the Internet of Things on that device, on the eduroam network. That was the reason we tried to think and look what others do, and is it possibility to do it. So basically, we think maybe to have some IDP only for Internet of Things. Probably it will be run by us, like national roaming operator for eduroam in Croatia. So we'll have some forms, subscribe, and we'll create some way to authenticate Internet of Things on all the eduroam network around Croatia only. Another things which are possible is to run parallel hierarchy on the local institution. Basically, in that case, these users are not represented in our authentication hierarchy, and you may authenticate via, I don't know, textual file database or something else on the radius server, and in that case, Internet of Things devices are able to authenticate only on the range of your access points. That is one of possibility. It is not great. I think it's relatively complicated, but it's one of solution you may use it. Also is the question of supported app types. That was one of the questions on the beginning, why we decide to use app TLS PUB. First, firmwares for small devices has implement only EAP TLS. Basically, the certificate with only 1022 bytes, which is not great, but it's better than nothing. On other scale, when we go a little bit higher on microcontrollers, microprocessors, and so on, basically the software which I use in the mobile phone, call it VPS supplicant, is used, so they are able to do any of app types. Yes, we must think, try to discuss and decide which app types will be provided and what will be the better possibilities. However, like I said, firmwares every day is regenerated, try to implement new things, and in most cases they support even right now the app types that we use. Some other models is also in my mind, but without suggestion of someone else, it's hard to think what may be. Also, it's the issue of GDPR. Basically, who is the owner of device and how to use the information the device provided. So it's one of legal things to think about. And also finally is the responsibility for administration, how to decide that someone need to update software on their devices, and what to do if the administrator or owner of devices doesn't do that. Because we intend to put something new. It was nice. They get the information and everything else. But in some cases, we forget it to implement the updates, new firmwares, something else device go older and needs to be replaced with new one. So who is responsible for that, and how to administrate basically that devices? Do we need to have strong policy, or just said, please do that, and don't care how to happen? Because, like I said before, it's a trust between service provider and identity provider. So on both sides need to have some rules and try to implement the best policy for secure way. And also on service provider side, they would like to have that all the users have same experience on that network. And final thoughts. Basically, Internet of Things are legal on eduroam. It may be used, like today, without thinking, without changing anything. However, it's a question of credentials, how to use authentication part of eduroam, which credentials use to authenticate, and we will need more implementation of Internet of Things on eduroam to see if we decide correctly how to authenticate Internet of Things, and more information for a service provider to see if we may do something that will help service provider to have more reliable service for all the users. And finally, we need collaboration nationally and internationally about Internet of Things. CERTSE, like national roaming operator for eduroam, are connected with international organizations, JANT and eduroam steering groups committee, and we try to raise knowledge that Internet of Things needs some connectivity, and we would like to know how the other party implement rules and everything else according to the Internet of Things. And finally, any questions? And I think the time, maybe little, no, basically in time. Any question? If no, thank you all.